Hello there and welcome to Geeky Goblin. I'm Jay Hopkinson, and in this episode we're going to be having a quick look at your painting area. So we're going to be painting some miniatures in the next video, which is the one I'm the most excited about. But just in preparation for that, what we need to do is just need to make sure you've got everything you need. So first of all, you want an A4 pad, or it doesn't have to be A4, whatever, but as long as it's got loads of leaves. All you're going to use that for is when you are painting, you've got too much paint on your brush, you just wipe it off on there, and eventually you can just peel that sheet off and just keep using it. That is your painting area essentially. You want 2 water pots. A lot of people make the mistake of only using 1 water pot, but you want 1 for clean water, 1 for washing your brushes in. So the clean water is going to be added to paint to thin the paint down. So you'll put a bit of paint on your saucer if you're using a saucer, take a bit of water, add that in there. That keeps it all clean. If you put dirty water in, you're actually essentially changing the tone of the paint, particularly if you put in, red water into white, you'll end up with a pinky white, so you don't want to do that. You need to change your water regularly, the dirty one. Make sure you stay on top of that. You want some napkins, which I can't seem to pick up. Once you've washed your brush, you need to clean that off, clean any excess paint off. It should be clean enough to put in the clean water then. Make sure it's properly clean. Painting handles, you don't really need one, but I have actually found that it does steady my hand slightly more because it gives me more distance between the model and my hand and the brush, so that I can rest the base of my hand on this part there. So I do find those quite useful really. I've got 2 because I never really paint more than 2 models in one sitting. But if I do, then, say if I paint 5, you can take the first one off, put another one on, etc, etc. Paints, obviously you need paints. This is a bit OCD. What I like to do with my paints is I like to take the colour, the highlight, the mid-tone, and I like to put them in order. So I have the darkest one at the front there and the highlight at the back. So it's just easy for me then to see what paints I've got set out to paint the models I'm going to paint. I'll use this one, paint the model, and I know that that one there behind it is already pre-picked. I don't have to mess about looking in boxes or drawers. I just use that next one there just to highlight it straight up. And a wet palette. Now this wet palette currently is not a wet palette, but what I wanted to do really was just show you how easy it is to make a wet palette at home. So if you take a plastic Tupperware box, or just any plastic box that will hold water, and then let's move these out of the way actually. And all you need to do is you need to get a sponge. You don't actually need to cut it in half, but I mean that would have probably fit in there. But if you've only got a small box, then yeah. So that goes in there, just like that, with the nice flat area to the top. Then you get some greaseproof paper, lay that over the top of it. So you've got this. And all you need to do is fill that with water to about 1 mil or 2 away from the top of the sponge. The sponge will absorb some, but then what you'll see is the paper going wet and sticking to the sponge. What that does is basically it keeps your paint wet. So if you're doing 5 models and you've just mixed a colour, so you've added some white to some blue, for example, and you want to make sure that all those models have got the exact same tone on them, that will keep that wet, that will keep that paint wet for, I mean, I've had it wet for like sometimes 3 days, and I can still go back and just put a little bit more on, and it's really useful, really handy to have, and it takes 5 minutes to make. So I would definitely suggest using a wet palette if you're painting multiple models. If you're painting 1, then you can just get away with just using a saucer, mix the colour you need, add a bit of water to it, and that's that. That's all you need. That's everything you need to paint some models. Get your area nice and tidy, because there's nothing worse than having 100 paints out when you only need 5 and you're constantly messing about. Make it neat, make it somewhere where you want to sit, where you want to enjoy painting. Imagine if it was an office at work and you've got paper everywhere, pens everywhere, and you're looking for things all the time. You don't want that. You just want a nice clean area with models and paints. Anything that's a mess is just going to put you off painting. And when you finish painting as well, tidy up your area, reset it back to the start, and then it's more, you're more inclined to go back to it then. You're more inclined to go, yeah, do you know what, I might do a bit of painting, I'll go and sit down, that's great. And if you don't have an area to paint, I mean, I'm quite lucky really, having 2 hobby rooms and a large desk to paint at. If you don't have that kind of space, what I would suggest is a dinner tray, and you can have your things out on the dinner tray. And then if your missus is going to get annoyed that you're not putting it away all the time, you can just bring it to the dining table, paint on the dinner tray, and then when you're done with it, you can just put the cups in the washing up bowl, and then you can put your dinner tray, even with your models on it, just in a drawer somewhere, and then you just open that up and it's ready to go. One of the things that puts people off painting is the setup, I think. You know, if you've got to spend 45 minutes setting up your painting area before you start painting, you just think, oh, I can't be bothered, I'll do it tomorrow. And before you know it, you haven't done anything. But if it's all set up ready to go and you've got a spare half an hour, you can just do half an hour and then tomorrow do another half an hour. By the end of the week, you know, you've done, what, 3.5 hours, you've got something painted, and it's nice. If you can do an hour a day, you'll always stay on top of your hobby. That's what I seem to suggest to people. And that's it. So that's the painting area. Next video, we're going to be doing some painting. So very excited about that. If you've enjoyed this one, just hit subscribe, hit like, and off we go. Thank you very much.